You're listening to Aging Uncensored.
Okay, welcome back to Aging Uncensored, the podcast where we fearlessly delve, if I can even speak right now, into the unfiltered realities of growing older and navigating the world of caregiving for our beloved seniors and our family members. I'm your host, Christy Baines. I have my co-host, Nicole Crawford, our Chief Clinical Officer, Chaley, and our producer extraordinaire, Taylor Crane. I am fumbling through my words today because we are about a week and some change out from Christmas, and I don't know about you, but I'm a little stressed. I've got a little bit more to do. Some things aren't going to get done. One thing I discovered when I was, my kids put what their Christmas list is now on a Canvas slideshow. Okay. And on the Canvas slideshow, thankfully, has the links. Well, I was pretty excited. Mick Carlton sent this to me, mid-November. And as all of y'all on here know, we had a rough go in November. My sister-in-law became very ill. And then, Chaley helped us spearhead getting hospice involved in here for her. And unfortunately, she died November 23rd, and we turned around and had a beautiful memorial, service of memory for her. And it's, kind of changed the way the last couple of weeks were for the holidays. And that's really kind of what led us to today's topic, self-care. And one of the things, I think, Nicole, earlier you were saying, what is it, like let go, or what were you saying with the self-care? What was your just kind of like, okay, here comes let it go, let it flow. I'm going to say, because here comes the explicit part. So sorry, Alan. Just don't give a shit anymore. That's where I'm going to be right now.
Yeah. So I had tile guys at my house yesterday to tell me, how much and when and things like that. And my house is a mess right now. And when they were leaving, I was like, and bye. And next time you come, it will not be any cleaner.
That's right. That's right. It's so going back to the Canvas spreadsheet. The weeks of November that I had an opportunity to buy the Christmas gifts or order the Christmas gifts online. I spent that time with my sister-in-law, which I'm so glad I did, and with the family. But it set me back. And when I went to order the first week of December, didn't recognize that the cute coat that she wanted, I should have recognized this when it was only like $45, that it's coming from China. And it might be here by the time she goes back to college, which is January 13th. Thankfully, she's not too worried about what Santa brings down the chimney anymore. And I can just say, hey, some things are going to come late. But in the past, that might have kind of gotten me, all in a tizzy. But I have to say, we've got to take care of ourselves, right?
Mm-hmm.
I guess it was last Monday, we were scheduled to do our podcast, and I think I had just gotten to up here, and I sent the Mayday text message to Nicole and Taylor and just said, I can't do it. Can't do it. Not there, not thinking of it. My brain's not working, and you have to give a pause. So I guess we're going to go around. Taylor, you're going to be involved in this too, because we're going to have multi-generations here. Well, there's really like two generations. We're going to have, we got Gen Xers, we got millennial, and Taylor, you're Gen Z?
I'm on the cusp of Gen Z and millennial, so you can call me one or the other.
There you go. So, as we're all in different phases and stages. I'm on the stage of college kid and high school kid. Taylor's newly married, so we've got a spectrum here. We'll learn from each other. The question today is, when do you recognize that you need self-care, and what is one of the first things you're going to do for self-care? Who wants to go first? Everybody's jumping at this because we all really take care of ourselves. All right, Shayla, come on.
I think that as I've gotten a little bit wiser with time, I have recognized that earlier and seen it as more of a proactive thing. Doesn't mean I always act on it. Sometimes I still make the mistake of waiting till I'm just burned out and need a break and just throw my hands up, but I try to be a little bit more proactive. Something that a therapist taught me a long time ago was when my children were very, very young and I was just very, very overwhelmed. And self-care felt like something that another thing on my to-do list, and I did not have any room for anything else on my to-do list, taught me that it doesn't have to be like an additional task. Like you can make a mundane task self-care. So like for me, that might be like taking a longer hot shower and doing deep conditioner in my hair. And I'm like, that was my self-care. Or a lot of it for me is like going to bed a little bit earlier, like last night, for instance, was exhausted, been a long weekend, house is a mess, still had things to do, but I was just like, I need to go to sleep and I'm just done. And so for me, it's things like that. I mean, it doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to be, everyone's resources are different. So don't feel like it's something that you have to go out and spend a lot of money on. Or, sometimes for me, it's if I'm driving to see a patient and I stop and get a coffee and listen to a podcast in my car for 45 minutes while I'm driving, by myself. It's simple things like that. And I think when you can like find peace and joy in like the simple mundane tasks, then self-care becomes so much more second nature.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Taylor, Nicole?
I think for me, my best self-care, and I didn't discover this until the last year and a half or so, is just being out in the woods. I knew being out in the garden for me is very healing, but being out in the woods and just not having a time frame on how long I could be there or anything like that is just very healing for me. When it comes to times when I can't be out or it's too cold or too dark, then oftentimes I'm like Shaylee, where I'll take an extra few minutes. I've learned to go to bed really early. Most of the time I'm asleep by 9:00. But like taking that time to have a cup of coffee in the morning or taking an extra, long shower or something like that. Stretching is good self-care for me. And just reminding myself that I'm doing at least an adequate job. I can't say always a good job, but most of the time I'm adequate. And that's the goal for now.
That's right.
That's right.
All right.
Yeah. So I think
freezing a little bit. So if I say something, technical difficulties on this Monday morning, but that's okay. All right, Taylor.
I've realized like I really need to have my phone put away for me to focus on anything, and whether that's like with my friends or family. And I've gotten really good at, if I don't answer your text for 6 hours, it's, it's because I put my phone down and I don't really touch it. And I've also had to get really good at not feeling I need to apologize for turning something down so I can allocate time for myself, or to do the things that I know I need to do that it will help me relax. I'm the type of person that I have to get my list done before I can relax. I can't relax, in order to get my list of things done. So I've, gotten better at not feeling like I have to apologize, to allocate time for myself. And then when I do, to use it wisely. So reading or spending time with my friends or spending time with myself, even if it's just like doing things around the house.
Yeah. There you go. Y'all probably know one of the things that we do. It's walking my dog in the morning. I feel like if I get out and I walk her, especially on this back road where there's really like only like two people that live on this back road, and I can let her off a leash and just let her kind of run. There's something just getting out and being out, like you said, Nicole, being out in nature and just taking a pause, getting a little bit of vitamin D if the sun's out, but just getting out and getting out of the house and taking that time. Not only is she in kind of a crazy twit if we're not walking on a regular basis, but I am too. So I feel like she reminds me, and if you know, lady, she's going to remind me. And then the other thing is I was listening to a podcast and they were talking about just some breathing exercises. I've always kind of wanted to dive into the world of meditation, but I just I don't know, I've done the Calm episode, the Calm app before and things like that. But something as simple as just, I think they called it the box breathing, where it's, inhale 4 seconds, hold 4 seconds, exhale 4 seconds, hold 4 seconds, and just kind of make a box in your mind. Doing something simple like that can, I don't know, just releases something, because I can tell when I'm getting like this and all of this is tense. I'd love to say that I'm going and doing yoga and getting massages and all that kind on a regular, but that's not happening. So I just have to go back to breathing in the box, whatever that is, the box breathing. Just being mindful of my breath and kind of where I am. And then also having great people that you work with, so that like, if you're having one of those days or moments, you can be like, hey, need a pause, or maybe I need something from you, or whatever that looks like, just to, know that it's okay. We work in, we love what we do. All of us have a passion to work, and work with each other and work with the families and the clients and patients that we help. But it can be a lot at times. We take on a lot of their stressors when we're trying to help them navigate. And then when we have our own stress with our family, I am learning how to get better at this, because there are times when I can go code red, as Alan says, or I can, just reach that point that I'm like, acting like the crazy wild woman. And I think what I've learned from that, this is not necessarily self-care, this is maybe self-awareness, is when I've reached that point and having the crazy moment, is being able to come back to whoever was the receiver of the crazy moment and saying, I'm sorry, right? I'm sorry. Sorry that happened, and usually it's like, okay, they need some space. She needs a moment. She needs something, right? It kind of goes back to how we talk to families about caring for people with brain changes and dementia. One of the two biggest words that the family caregiver can say to them in the moment is, I'm sorry you're experiencing that, or I'm sorry that upsets you, or I'm sorry you feel that way. There's something about hearing I'm sorry, or saying, and you need to be honest in the moment that you're using this in the right way. But there's something about it, just acknowledging in the moment that was kind of a sticky situation, or you hurt somebody's feelings, or you're just acting nutty. That's kind of my way of helping others in the moment. And then, I think, like you said, Nicole, is like learning to let go, learning to recognize that maybe you don't have to do all the things in a particular way. A few podcasts ago, we talked about getting ready for the holiday season and delegating. Shaylee talked about delegating, delegating to other folks. In the previous podcast, she mentioned how does she, juggle having, 2 young children, a husband, caring for, in-laws and family members, and doing what she does. And Shaylee, you said delegating. And I think that's huge. If you can learn how to delegate. I think all of us like to feel like we need to tackle certain problems by ourselves, but delegating is huge. What are your tips and tricks on learning how to do that and being able to kind of let go?
Yeah, I don't know that I'm a pro at it by any means. I think it's still a hard thing for me to do is to ask people for help. But I think that one thing I heard a while ago from a podcast actually was that if someone ever reaches out to you and they want to offer some sort of support, so if, a neighbor wants your kids to come play for a couple of hours or someone wants to bring you a meal or something like that, I think our inclination is sort of like, oh gosh, no, I'm okay. Like, I don't need that, but if someone wants to extend themselves and be a blessing to you, then that can be a blessing to them. And so don't resist that. And so I think that sort of changed my thought process, and it goes the other way too, like reaching out to people, we all have meaningful relationships in our lives, and most people do. And when you have healthy, meaningful relationships, those people want to build up and support you. And I've just recognized, like with time and wisdom, that when I do ask for help, people are happy to help me. It brings them joy to be able to do that. So, and I'm fortunate to have those good people on my side and in my lane. But I think that's one thing, and it's not always easy though. It's sometimes really hard, and my husband will tell me all the time, just let me help you. Like, what, why are you running around like crazy? Let me do some of this. So.
Absolutely. It's, for those of us, for all of us here, it's sometimes you feel like you're not doing what you're needing to do or what you're supposed to do when you let somebody help. But honestly, that's the best way to do this is, let it go. And I love what you were saying, Shaylee, especially when you're going through a situation, whether it's, something going on with your family or just yourself. People want to help, and they are all going to help in their own particular way. Sometimes it's meals, right? Sometimes it's bringing a meal. Sometimes it's just coming over and being with you. Sometimes it's going and doing something for you. When people ask, how can I help? If there is something like, I don't know, picking up the dry cleaning or running over and doing something, let them do that.
Yeah.
I think it's important to just allow your friends and your network to help you. That's why we have a village. We say it takes a village to raise our kids, and y'all have heard me say it takes 5 villages to take care of our aging parents and loved ones, because it really is kind of multifaceted and lots of dynamics there. In all of that, though, we've got to find time to take care of ourselves. And that is where that's a big part that we see in the families that we work with, that the healthy spouse does not take care of themselves. They're so focused on the person with the chronic illness, with the issues that, need a lot of attention or require a lot of medical help. They're going to focus so much on that person versus themselves. And what we see is that person that is the healthy spouse now has higher rates of depression, higher rates of anxiety, and their health can decline more rapidly than the person with the chronic illness. And so those are all things that we've got to be aware of. And I do think as females, it's harder for us to delegate. I think it's harder for us to kind of let people in to kind of help, because we feel like our nurturing self is we're supposed to do it all on our own. And so that is it's a big challenge for all of us to kind of let people help and do. What are some things like...
And to piggyback on something, something Taylor said, and I just did it myself, actually. I said, sorry there. but is not being so apologetic about things. I think we have this this reflex to just apologize. And if we're asking for help or needing help, like we don't need to apologize for that.
Sure. Sure.
Yeah.
When I was saying is I'm sorry as if I went just code red on you. So that might be a different situation.
There are certainly times where it's appropriate, but
setting boundaries.
Right.
Yeah, when you like setting boundaries, we shouldn't apologize for setting boundaries. 100%. Setting boundaries we need to do. Absolutely. And that's hard to kind of figure out where we can set boundaries and things like that. What are some things that you've learned over the last few years, Nicole? I know going out into the woods has been important. How have you been able to kind of look at boundaries and things like that?
I have been really working on boundaries, not with a therapist or anything, but just trying to figure out like, hey, that didn't feel right in the moment, and then addressing it. So some of my boundaries are having set times of when the kids are picked up or brought home, and, unless there's something that comes up, not necessarily saying, oh, just bring them back anytime. I love them dearly and I want them around all the time, but I need until 7:30 to do all the things that I want to do in the house by myself. I think as far as family goes, being able to say, I love you guys, but the last couple of years, Thanksgiving has just been me. Like my family does a meal either the Saturday before, the Saturday after Thanksgiving, and the last 2 years I've skipped out because it just feels like I feel better being thankful for being able to say, I don't want to be there. I want to be, this year I was literally out in the woods. So being able to do that and just not feeling like I have to do something. If you're doing it out of obligation and you're not benefiting from it, then you're not bringing that benefit to the people that are around you, I feel like. So it helps me to do better on Thanksgiving to serve myself. And then on Christmas Eve, I can go and be a better person. So
there you go. Absolutely. And that's, that's what is helping you and keeping you charged and energetic and things like that is recognizing those times versus becoming just not jaded by it, but frustrated because you're having to give so much of your time in order to fulfill all of these things, if you will.
Yeah.
I think that's something that we decided last year to do. I used to host a big Christmas brunch, and I love it. I love doing a Christmas brunch. That does bring me joy, except for the fact that people wanted to come over a little bit earlier than I wanted them to, and all these kinds of things. And so last year I said, you know what? I'm going to do a drop in, and it's going to be not only for family, it's going to be for friends. So neighbors that want to come by, come on in. Don't show up before 10:30 or 11 o'clock, but drop in, and there will be snacks and there will be, spirits flowing, and it'll be fun. And you can come at any time, but there's not like a set thing and there's not a schedule. So I'm not having to do all that. And it was so fun. I mean, except for the fact that we almost burnt the house down with a candle in my greenery. But it kind of made for a fun moment in the time. But I felt like, it was such a release to kind of, and a relief to just say, this is what I'm going to do. We're not opening gifts today. We do different, Alan's family on one day and my family on another. But on this day, this is what I'm doing. And if you want to come, great. If you don't, that's okay. And it was nice just to kind of let it go. I think that a lot of us just have to be reminded that it's okay to set your boundaries, say no in these moments, take care of yourself. Whether it's getting out in the woods, listening to your favorite podcast, taking a bath, setting your moment, doing the box breathing, those things, and we're coming up on a time where everybody's going to start setting these huge New Year's resolutions and goals. And I think something that's sustainable is just finding just a small thing that you can do, right? What can you do that you feel like you can sustain? Not something so aggressive like, I'm going to go run a marathon at the end of March or something like that. Unless you want to, that's correct.
Christy, what do you do? What do you do that's small, that's sustainable? I have a couple of them.
My breathing, kind of taking a moment to breathe. I had a life coach counselor that I worked with, and one of the first things she would tell me when we first would start our session would be just the breathing techniques and kind of getting into that in the moment. Just whether I'm in my car or whatever it is, just taking a moment and being mindful of my breath. Anybody can do that anywhere, right? You know, I'll tell you one thing I have done this year, and Taylor's going to be floored by it. Putting flowers together brings me joy. I love putting flowers together. I love arranging flowers. I love doing things like that. This year's been different, and my time has kind of been a little pressed. And so we have our Christmas party coming up in a couple of days. I did something totally different. I took my containers to Leaf and Petal, and I said, "This is what I want, and y'all do it."
Wow.
Right?
Shocked.
It'll shocking. I know. And it'll be great and beautiful. And then that way, when I do flowers, it can be at a time when I want to do it and I'm not stressed about it. So, delegating big time, but breathing. And then I think that's my main one, is just kind of trying a time to find to be grounded. I'll take my shoes off and put my feet on the floor or feet on the ground, right? So kind of grounding and breathing. What about you, Nicole?
Well, I've told you my funny one that I do a lot of walking, and I used to do a lot of like free weights and stuff like that at home, but since we've gotten the puppy, it's just more time like walking her. So I still have to get that resistance training in. So last year I started this thing with my little 15-pound dumbbells where I'll I don't know, I'll put them down to my ankles and then I'll pull them back up and then do a curl and then I'll do a squat and then I'll do a press. I'll do that about 15 times while my coffee's getting ready. And then oftentimes I will do my little extra while I'm brushing my teeth, where I will do a squat and then bring my leg up and cross it over and then cross over with the other one. And it just tickles my daughter because most of the time I'm naked while I'm doing it because I've just gotten out of the shower and brushing my teeth. So she oftentimes just kind of looks at me like, my mom is the craziest person I know that exercises in the nude.
All good. Whatever helps you in the moment.
A set amount of time. It's not like I'm having to set out time to do something else. I like to multitask. I usually have 2 or 3 things going on at the same time. So that's very helpful to me to just have that set time in the mornings when I get it done. So, Shaylee, you have a lovely face care routine. Tell us about it.
Well, every night before I go to sleep, like no matter what, like that's my thing. I wash my face and moisturize and like take my time. And, my husband's always just kind of like, I don't know what you're doing in there, but it seems to take forever and whatever. But yeah, it's just like a good way to kind of just like wind myself down for the evening. And like my brain knows like, you just wash your face, you're about to go to sleep, and you kind of like wash the day away a bit. So there's something about that too that's just sort of healing. So
I love it. And your skin shows it. Are there any other small things that you do for yourself throughout the day or throughout the week?
Yeah, I think my like driving, like my work world has always had a lot of driving, and right now it doesn't so much, but anytime I'm in the car by myself, I always feel like that's really therapeutic to listen to whatever music I want. There's no kids in there and drinking coffee usually or something. And so that's like my one very sustainable thing because I drive a lot. So
Yeah, we all have lots of car time.
yeah.
Taylor, you want to end us on some tips and tricks?
One thing I really like, and it seems kind of silly at first, but is the Hatch alarm clock. You can like do an unwind, so you play sounds. I think you can even subscribe to like stories and things like that. I just have like the sounds. So every night before I go to bed, I usually read for about 30-ish, 45 minutes, and I put the red light on. I have the fire sounds going. I turn out all the lights. And then it also wakes you up with a light very slowly over like it increases over 30 minutes, and the sound increases over 30 minutes. So you're not like being woken up extremely like drastically or anything like that. And, it seemed a little silly at first because I was like, why am I spending money on this like alarm clock? It's like $100 or something. But then I've ended up really liking it. And it's become a, really big part of my routine and unwinding and kind of starting my morning in the right way.
Yep, absolutely.
That's
I think the
awesome. We
main
need to add
goal
that
is
to
just
our Amazon list.
I know, because being mindful of the things that can slow you down. I mean, that need to slow you down. And I think sleep is huge, super huge. Trying to unwind, do those things. Al and I like to have a cup of tea if we can at the very end of the day.
Always have some tea.
Me too.
Absolutely. So, well, you know what? We're going into the very end of 2024. A lot of great things gearing up for 2025. We will all have to be each other's reminder for self-care and breathing or yelling going into the closet and yelling in the moment. Whatever it is that releases stress and brings you self-care. This was more of one of our fun podcasts. We'll have more to come. I know that we're going to dive into veterans services and benefits. Nicole has done a ton of research on things that she's going to do, and we're going to talk about that in the coming year. Obviously, a lot more brain care, dementia care, caregiving care, if you will, family care to come. We'll have Dr. Powers on at some point. We'll have Dr. Duxbury on at some point. I know Dr. Geldmacher will circle back around with us. We also have Marianthe Grammas, Dr. Grammas, who leads the House Calls program at UAB at some point, wants to be with us. And, I think that one thing that has been really cool for all of us is you got to find your village and your network, right? I mean, we all are each other's village. We all support one another. And, being vulnerable in the moment is very important. Receiving help. I know that the four of us give a lot of help. And I think that's one thing that Shaylee started this conversation in the podcast is being able to receive that help. The more that we can kind of open and receive. One of the things that when I did go to yoga, and hopefully I can do that at some point in time, is like when you're ending the practice is holding up one hand and grounding another, which is you're open to receiving and, receiving and giving energy. And I think that that's really important, is to give energy and receive it. We're not taking energy, but receiving that so that we can help one another. So again, this has been more of a short, fun, just take care of yourself podcast, trying to get into wrapping up the end of this year and going into 2025. Super excited about what that looks like. And hopefully you like and subscribe to us, share us. We are on Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, YouTube, all those things. So the purple, the green, the red, all those things. Please share us, more clips to come. And if you have any recommendations or suggestions, let us know. My son told us last night that we have a 5-star review. So there you go. We're at a 5 stars. So keep those going. I promise we haven't paid for this. Anyway, thanks for being on Aging Uncensored, where we unravel all of the many tangles of aging and self-care, family care, all of those things. So thanks for being with us. And until then, we're going to sign off for 2024. See you in 2025.
Bye, people.
Bye.